Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, fine. So yesterday we were discussing about this Nadaria-Watson model for kernel linear regression. Before then, that I have discussed what is Parsons density estimator. So, if do you have any question in this density estimation? Parsons density estimator. So the idea is like you will have so many points given data points, so it is unsupervised thing, right? So this is so many points scattered into two-dimensional plane, let's say, and somebody comes and asks you, what do you think? What is the density here at this unknown point? So you just feel that you just what you do, you form a window, right, or you form some area, and that area will be think as a distribution, right? For an example, you take a uniform distribution over this, and then you will fill the distribution over this, then this, similarly, then this, and then this. Let's say now this point come here, right? For this point, I feel that it comes under the 3-4 overlappings. So it means it is having a higher density, because what I am doing, I am just summing them all of densities and then normalizing it, right? So this is how I found out the density for every x in this plane. This is what we have done in Parsons density estimation, though I will cover it in very much detail later when I do k nearest neighbor algorithm. So for now, just this is good enough for your intuition. And this f component, right? It's a density function. It can be uniform, right? Or it can be normal. Fine. Uniform means, right, you can have a square window, or it can be normal distribution like this, right? Like Gaussian distribution with standard normal distribution like 0 and 1 mean or something. So it depends upon like how you feel, what is that component, but it is actually a density function, right? And then you find out for a given x, you find out how many overlappings are there for that given x, and you just sum them all those probabilities and normalize them, right? This is how you do it. Okay, so this is one thing. The other thing is, if you remember, what we have proved like in linear regression is that because if you remember, my expected loss was what? My expected loss is like that I have some prediction yx comma w, right, for some parameter. This is my prediction function. How much far I am from this true label, right? I am squaring them up, and then I was doing this dx and dt, right? Dx and dt. So this is over x and t. And what this was my loss, right? This was my expected loss. So this is probability here, px comma t, px comma t. We have done this. And then I said that we want to minimize this expected loss, right? If I want to minimize this expected loss, then we have found out using calculation of variational thing like calculus. I want to find out what is that function which will minimize this total expression, right? Then we find out for this sum of square thing, the function which will minimize this total expected loss will be nothing but it's an expectation, conditional expectation for a given x. So you just see that those previous lectures where I have discussed this thing, right? So there are two things. Then we have calculation of variance, calculus of variations, and the other thing is like we have just proved it using substitution method. So those two things we have discussed there on the slides. You just refer them. But the takeaway for now is that if you have some linear regression problem, right? So what the ideal function which will minimize your expected loss is expectation, conditional expectation, right? It means like this. For an example, you are here for this x, there are so many values that can be possible for single x, right? There can be so many values for the single x. Why? Because there could be a noise in recording the function. What will happen? You do the mean, you find out the what is the mean of this thing. If the mean comes somewhere here, so the particular choice for this x will be this mean, right? This is known as conditional expectation. Conditional expectation means for what x you are targeting, all those t's which are available for that particular x, you find out a expectation, right? This is expectation, mean means, right? So can you let me know that we have discussed this thing? Yes or no? Do you any of you remember this thing? This is expected loss. When we minimize it, we will get this thing. Conditional expectation. Yes or no? Very nice. Very nice. So you can refer it, and for now, those who couldn't recall it, they can take my words here that the expected loss can be minimized using conditional expectation. Fine. So keeping these two things in our head, let's see what is this kernel linear regression, right? What is this kernel linear regression? Okay. So the idea is to find out the conditional expectation, right? We need to find out the conditional expectation. And this conditional expectation, to find it out, we need this value, probability of t given x, right? We need this value, probability of t given x, right? So let's calculate this value first, probability of t given x. So here is my data set, right? So these blue dots are my data set. Right? We will be doing it in lab, so please see it very carefully. So these blue dots are my data set. What I assume that for every dot, there will be some joint distribution of over x and y, which is like this. So it is a bivariate distribution. Let's say Gaussian distribution with mean 0 and variance 1. So I say that is isotropic. It means I keep mean exactly over my x, right? And the variance is like, it is just a circle, or it can be represented by identity matrix because it is independent. That's why it is circle. If it is not independent, it could be ellipsoid, right? This is shown in ellipsoid because the scale is not same. The scale is not same. So this scale is bit compressed. So this vertical scale is bit compressed. So the circle which you should see like this, it is shown like this, right? Because it is compressed in this direction, right? So the idea is to calculate the density. So let's do some exercise and then we will retake it. Okay. So first assume that so I am discussing here now the joint probability first. How to find out the joint probability of x comma t. Assume that my component, to make it discrete, to make it concrete, assume that my component density is normal, right? So my component density is normal here, right? So I have taken intentionally the density where x and t are normally distributed and they are independent. They're independent. That's why I have taken I here. So my covariance matrix is diagonal. So it is covariance barrier, right? It is diagonal. So it means they are independent with each other. Because the correlation on off diagonal elements is 0 here, right? So it is identity. And the mean is 0, right? So the mean is 0. But when we say that mean is 0, and the component is shown like t minus tn, x minus xn, it means my centroid is actually at x and tn, right? Xn. So it is a change of change, like it is translated in the space, right? By x and tn. That's what, right? Otherwise, I have taken a standard normal distribution, but I have translated it to x and tn. Now it is a distribution where mean is xn comma tn, right? Where my mean is xn comma tn, and the variance around it is given by sigma square I. Fine. Any question on this?
No, sir.
Very nice. So I have taken specifically a concrete example, so that you can visualize it properly. So this is my component density, right? So if you want an expectation, right? This is what my task is. I want to calculate an expectation, right? So to calculate an expectation, first I need this term, conditional probability. Then I take the integral of this function t with this probability distribution, which is nothing but it is a conditional expectation. So in short, first I need to calculate conditional probability pt given x, right? I hope this is making sense to you guys, right? This is the formula of expectation, very clear and very simple, right? So I need to calculate this probability, conditional probability pt given x first. So I can write this pt given x as p t comma x, my giant probability, divided by my marginal probability. Right? It is the same formula of conditional. Very easy. You have done it so many times. Now I know that my probability of t comma x is what? So I am estimating my probability density using this Pareto density estimation. So for particular x, what I am doing, I am calculating the density from every component, right? And then I am normalizing it, right? So it is like this. So there are two samples in your data set. This is 1, this is 2. And you want to find out what is the density here. So you will calculate the density of this from this component. This is P1. From then this component of this point, this is P2, and then you do P1 plus P2 divided by 2. So this is the density for this x, right? This is how it is showing. So similarly, you are doing a conditional distribution for this x, right? So in general, for linear regression, there are so many x, right? From 0 to infinity. From 0 to infinity. So you take any x. You take any x. Right? So you take any x. Let's say I'm taking this x. I want to predict at this x. Fine. So this is the x where I want to predict. So for this x, I will first calculate the density using Pareto window, right? So this is my one sample. This is my second sample. This is my third sample, right? So first I will calculate the density using Pareto window, and right, using Pareto window. So what I do for x comma t, right? For x comma t, so t is also general here. This is the density. So all xn in my data set, let's say I freeze t also. Let's say this is t. So this is x and this is t. So this is x comma t. So this is x comma t. X comma t, where I want to calculate the density, right? So first I find it, what is this probability from this component, what is the probability from this component, what is the probability from this component. Then I sum them up and then I normalize it, right? Then I normalize it. This is my giant probability using Pareto density estimation. Then I will calculate the marginal probability. How I will calculate the marginal probability? I will marginalize. So how I will calculate px? It is nothing, but you just integrate over t. So take your giant probability pt comma x, t comma x dt, right? dt. So if you marginalize over dt, what you will get? This t will go away because you are marginalizing it, and you left with px. So this is the formula that you have used. But internally, what is this? This is again a joint probability, right? And you marginalizing this joint probability over t. So this t is here. You use the joint probability formula using Parsons density estimation, the same formula. And this is again here. And you divide it by 1 by n. 1 by n, right? So because 1 by n doesn't depend on t, so you just bring it out 1 by n, and you cancel from numerator and denominator, right? You cancel this 1 by n. So let's clear this again. So now you left with this expression, right? Because 1 by n, 1 by n cancel from the numerator and denominator. And because it is, now let's do one more simplification. Because it is conditionally independent, because not conditionally, because they are marginally independent, right? My x and t, because my covariance matrix is just an identity, I can write my distribution in terms of a multiplication. So first I take a distribution over x, then I take a distribution over t, and then I'm multiplying them, right? This is simply, it is rewriting of the same expression, nothing big deal, because my covariance matrix says that these two things, the random variables are independent. So I can factorize them, right? The second term in denominator, let's simplify this, right? So in my denominator, I have this thing which I want to marginalize over t, right? So I can factorize this also denominator, because it is again like it is, because it is independent because of this identity matrix. So I factorize my denominator. So these are the steps here, right? So this is normal x multiply normal t, right? Normal t into dt integrate, right? So this is constant, in this nx is constant with respect to dt. So bring out of the integral, right? You left with what? You left with integral normal over t into dt. What is the value of this? Can anybody tell me in the class? What is the value of this expression? I have a distribution over variable t, and I am integrating over this variable. What will I get? So you have one distribution, you are integrating over that variable. What you can get? Am I audible to you guys? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What are the properties of distribution? Can anybody tell me? How do you see that? What is the distribution? When you know that this is a Gaussian distribution, right? What are the two things that you need to see? That probability is always non-negative. It means probability is always greater than equal to 0 for any x, right? Greater than equal to 0. And the integral over this distribution normal will sums to what? Yes, if this is x, this it should sum to 1. Very nice. So now this integral is nothing but it is saying that you take the integral over this variable t, and t is a distribution, independent distribution. So it reduced to 1, right? So you left with what? You left with only this term in the denominator. You left with this term in the denominator, and this is a normal over x, right? So you left with this term only. And summation is for all variables, right? So this is for one point sample, second sample. It is for all m samples. You're summing them. Till this point, is it clear to you what I'm doing? Is this thing is clear to you guys? Anyone of the in the class? Very nice. Very good. Very nice. So it is important to understand this. Any other who understood this? You can type it. If you have any confusion, you can ask me also. Not a problem. Okay. So if you have no questions, then let's forward. So this is what I have got now, right? This is what I got. So assume this is some number k. Let's say this is k. Denominator is equal to k. Then what happen in numerator? Do you have two terms, right? You have two terms, and then in denominator you have some k, right? You have some k. What you can do, you bring this, you can write it like 1 by k, then 1 by k, right? Then you bring this 1 by k inside this summation. So then it will come here 1 by k, right? And then you can write it like this, summation first term by k into the second term, right? This is how we have simplified it. So this term here in denominator is actually where you have taken this term inside the summation here, right? And it will be seen denominator under it. So then you see this like this. This is this term here, right? And the left out term will be this term and this summation, right? So this summation goes directly here. This term is here and this term is here. And just to simplify further, you are saying that you have translated it to Tn, or directly you are saying that the mean is at Tn. So it is rewriting the same thing, right? So here you have used translation trick, and then you say that rather than translating, I am saying that my mean is at Tn only. Fine. Any questions in deriving this first? So I have derived till here, and this is my conditional probability of a t given x, right? So I am on this plane, you give me this x, and you ask me for this x, what is the probability of a t? So I am asking some conditional probability, which is nothing but it is a kind of a distribution, right? So it is a kind of a distribution. And I'm asking that this distribution, it is a normal distribution, right? Because I have multiplied and weighted it with this one, right? So this is a conditional distribution, which is normal here, and the weight will be decided by this kernel, right? So let's see this kernel. First, you have any question here? Any questions? Very good, nice. So let's see this kernel separately. So can anybody give me an insight? What do you think what this kernel is doing? Like intuitively, I am interested in like interpreting this expression now. So this is, let's say I have a data set. So every xn comma tn, right, is in my data set. So this is my kernel function. What it says that you define a distribution over every x. So you have marginalized it. Your t is not there. So there is a distribution for this x1, right? This is x1. So there is a distribution over x2, let's say here. So there is a distribution over x2. There is a distribution over x4, let's say. And let's say here is your x3. So then it will come like this, x3. This is your x3. And this is your x4, right? So somebody asks you, what is this x? What is the weight that you should give to x3? What is the weight that you should give to x3, right? So what you do, you calculate the probability, right? No. So what is the weight that you should give for this x, let's say. So I just change the color. So I have some x here sitting, right? So this is my unknown x. So this is x here. Somebody asks, I need to find it out. What is the weight I should give to this x? So the weight you are deciding, right? With respect to particular x, right? So let's say this is where you want to predict. This is your x, right? This is your x where you want to predict, and you want to decide a weight of every sample for this x. So let's say I take this weight first with respect to x2, right? So what is the weight I should give to this unseen x with respect to x2? So what I will do, I will calculate the probability of this x, unseen x, from all these distributions, right? So let's say P1 is the probability from first Gaussian, P2 is the probability from second Gaussian, P3 is the probability from third Gaussian. For what? P4 is the probability from fourth Gaussian. Can anybody tell me by unmuting it what is this probability? P1 means what probability? I am saying P1 is the probability from first Gaussian. What do you mean by this? Anybody can unmute and just let me know what is this probability P1 from this first Gaussian. For what I am calculating this probability P1, P2, P3, P4. No, peak is not the thing. Peak means it is mean. No. It's a Gaussian distribution. I am calculating a probability from first Gaussian, then second Gaussian, third Gaussian, fourth Gaussian. So if I am four Gaussians, I am calculating four probabilities. But for what? For what I am calculating this probability? So I have, let's say, this Gaussian, one Gaussian only, right? So this is for x1, and you are predicting for x here, right? So you are predicting for some x, unknown x, right? This unknown x. Then you calculate what is the probability of coming from this one. So this is P1, right? Then you have some second point, x2, let's say. This is x2, second data point. Then you have a Gaussian here, right? You have a Gaussian here, let's say like this. Then this is a probability P2, right? So it is like generating this unseen x, generating this x where you want to predict from each of these Gaussians, right? This is P1, P2, P3, P4. Then you want to give a weight, how much weight I should give to the second point. So then you are saying that it is the P2, right? So you are normalizing the weights actually. It means, in short, rather than going so much in detail, in short, you want to say like this is your 4 samples, x1, x2, x3, right? x2, x3, and x4, right? x3 and x4. So now what you're saying that you want to predict somewhere here. You want to predict somewhere here. So then you say like how much weight I should give for this x2. How much close it is with x2. How much this is close with x3. How much this is close with x4. How much this is close with x1. So closeness is in the terms of a probability. If it is very close, then the probability is very high, right? Because it is at the, if I am predicting it directly the mean of x1, it means I am getting the highest probability for x1, right? Because it is at the mean where I am predicting. So then I want to normalize it because I want to give a weight, normalized weight. So this is what I am doing here. So I am giving a weight for x, for some xn with the total sum, right? This is nothing but I am just giving a weight. So the sum of all these weights will be 1 only because it is a normalizing thing. Now this weight is nothing but what? I am weighting my target values. So for an example, I want to predict, so this is my T2 somewhere here. This is my T3 somewhere here, right? This is my T4 somewhere here. And this is my T5 somewhere here, T1 somewhere here, right? This is my T1 somewhere here. So I want to predict for this X, right? So what I will do, because it is very near to this X2 and X3, I will somewhere point it here in the middle. So this is this value, this is for X3, this is for X2, and this is for X1. So I am weighting it in terms of x2 and x3 more because where I am predicting is more near to x2 and x3. So I hope all these things is making sense to you guys. Right, very good. So any questions still here before which will if you have any problem in visualization, please let me know. I will try to clarify it. It is a very important concept of kernel methods in regression. So do you have anything here to see or to discuss or let me know, right? So just I am doing what? I am weighting my target T based on the closeness in the domain, right? So the more it is close to this some sample, I will give more weightage for the target value, right? So I don't know, this is obvious, but I still want to just emphasize on it. So you are seeing the closeness in terms of a domain, right? So domain is X here. Your codomain or range is T here, right? So what you are seeing, you see the closeness in domain and then you give that closeness a weight, and then at predicting you are just taking an average of all the target values in your data set based on that closeness, right? Based on that closeness. So there are two things. You are giving a weight based on the domain, and then predict the value of t based on the target values. So I just want to hold for a 1 minute here. If you don't have any questions, then I want to 30 seconds. I want to hold for a 30 seconds and just let me know if you have anything to discuss. You can write no questions also if you don't have any. Okay. So let's come to the final slide of this. So what I was saying that we want to calculate an expectation. So just we have calculated the probability, conditional probability. I am plugging that conditional probability in this formula, right? This is this conditional probability formula here, and then just juggle it, right? So this is like independent of t, this kernel function. So you just bring out of that things. So kernel of summation is like summation, integral of summation is summation of integral. You just switched it up, and then you left it with this. And what is this? Quickly, can anybody tell me what is this? This, am I connected, guys? Like, because the network is fluctuating, I can see it. You can hear me, guys? Okay, fine. Okay, so I will hold this question for you. So you just tell me how I'm coming to this step. Till then, do you have any questions? So then you will just find it out that based on this, you can find out actually that you can fit the curve. This is the red curve which you find out. So you shall be doing it in your lab this week, right? You shall fit this. So any questions for this before I close the class? You still not get this point? What is this? What is this in this square board course? Anybody? The formula of what? That is, what is this distribution? Anybody? What is this distribution? Expectation. Very good, Vedant. It's expectation. Expectation of what? Expectation of a Gaussian distribution. Because Gaussian is defined on t variable, right? So I am calculating expectation of a t variable, and my distribution is normal. So what is the expectation of a normal distribution? What is the expectation of a normal distribution? Anybody in the class, what is the expectation of a mean? Very good. So expectation of a Gaussian distribution is its mean, because it's a symmetric model, right? So it's a mean. So that's why I just directly write Tn here. Okay, so last conclusive point. Last conclusive point. What is this? This is the same thing that I have been telling to you so far. For an example, if you want to predict somewhere here, right? So let's say if you want to predict somewhere here at 0.4, then what you will do, you calculate the weight for every point. So for these points, this x is very, very far, right? For this point, this x is very, very far. So the weight is very almost negligible for these points. But this x is near to this x and this x, right? So this is very, so the heavy weight will be given to this x. And the target value for this x is this, and the target value for this x is this, right? So you take an average, somewhere you will get this value at the middle, right? Because you sum them and divide them up, then you will get an average. So because why I'm just taking an average, because these are the 2 points which will give the heavy weight to this point, to this x. And then based on the weight, I will take, let's say 0.5 to this because of the closeness, 0.5 to this because of the closeness. And then I take that 0.5 multiply by this target value, 0.5 by multiply with this target value, I will get this t, and which is in the middle of it, right? This is how I'm getting. Okay, guys, I hope that this is making sense to you. If you have any question, please let me know. So, okay then, please drop your attendance. We are very quick in giving attendance, I know, but not for